What's up, everybody? So, in case you haven't noticed, one, there's a Little League practice going on behind me, and the Chicago White Sox have a remarkably bad baseball team. So the question is we're coming down to the last 2 weeks of the year, how bad do they get? Well, I think they're going to get pretty bad. They're obviously pretty bad. Right now, their winning percentage is the worst in the history of baseball since 1900. There are a few teams from back in the 1800s that are worse, but basically they're the worst team since 1900. Can they maybe do better than that? Well, you know, who knows? In order to not beat the Mets record for the most wins since 1900, they will need to go 10-4 in their last 14 games. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're going to beat the Mets for the most losses. In order to not beat the 1916 Philadelphia A's for the worst winning percentage, they'll need to go 6-8 in their last 14. That doesn't sound incredibly hard until you realize they've only won 6 games since the All-Star break. Yeah, I think it's likely, almost certain, that they're going to end up with the worst record since 1900, the worst winning percentage since 1900. But where does that work out in the history of baseball? Well, it's likely that they're going to end up with probably the 4th or 5th worst winning percentage of all time. Only some teams from the 1800s are worse, but this is a remarkably bad Chicago White Sox team. It's historically bad. It's definitely the worst that any of us have seen in our lifetimes, which is pretty sad because they were just in the playoffs a couple years ago. You know, what you're seeing is something very similar to what the A's were doing. You're having an owner trying to leech the city, leech the fans to drive away fans because nobody wants to see a bad team, and then try to blame the fans for not showing up when they're not putting out a good product for the fans to watch. And that's really sad. You know, we're seeing that in Oakland here too. But that's where the White Sox stand. It's, I would say, quite certain right now that they're going to exceed the loss total for the 1962 Mets, and it's very, very, very likely that they're going to lower the all-time losing percentage. I think the biggest question is actually whether they can win a game for the rest of the year, because yeah, that's where we are. We're wondering whether or not the White Sox can win a game the rest of the season. They do get lucky. They have to play the Angels 6 times, and the Angels are the 2nd worst team in the American League. So it is likely that they'll get a couple wins. But at this point, I think they end up something like 36-126, which is pretty remarkably bad. And with that, I thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video.